Project Cat and Paper Lily are two RPG horror games in which things are never as they seem and every action has a consequence. Why enjoy pretty pixel art and anime girlies when you can suffer? For fun! When the developers really stressed the idea of there is always another way, what could possibly go wrong? Why be stressed by demonic rituals that spirit you away to a whole new realm? Real answers come from the unknown. Take a seat, get cozy, but don't, and I repeat, don't, open that golden envelope, lest you are ready for the horrors. Then I won't stop you. So then, let's get into it. Leef 6010 brings us this psychological horror series, getting their start on itch.io with their prologue, Project Cat. As of recording, Paper Lily only has the first chapter out. The two self-proclaimed idiots put their nasty little heads together to bring their nasty little thoughts to life. Initially launched on itch.io in 2020, Project Cat is a short, unconventional RPG horror game in which there's always another way. Solve puzzles, make friends, or not, and guide Cat as she attempts to uncover the mystery behind a strange golden letter. The idea for the universe has been developing in their minds and files for several years before asking, do people still care about RPG horror games in 2020? And yeah, people do. 2020 was a weird year for everybody. Of course, there are some that wanted pixelated gore and creepy imagery. Even more people wanted those yummy human innards and forbidden strawberry jam when Project Cat released on Steam on October 16th, 2021. On the other hand, Paper Lily is the direct continuation of this mysterious story. Here we can solve each puzzle in multiple different ways, explore a hidden world, meet strange characters, and guide Lacey as she attempts to find answers about her unusual condition. Like the prologue, Paper Lily originally released on itch.io in 2023 with a subsequent Steam release on January 26, 2024. Lacey undergoes some utterly diabolical routes, and they're all enough to leave someone feeling warm and fuzzy inside. Like any good RPG horror game, both have a variety of endings the player can encounter, with some being nastier than others. Project Cat has a total of 8 dead ends and 1 true ending. Paper Lily boasts 13 dead ends and 1 true ending. As you could tell, we've got a lot to unpack. Pixelated games have a very distinct flavor when it comes to horror. They're not as hard-hitting as fully rendered 3D games like Resident Evil or Silent Hill, and they use that to their advantage. Implications are heavily utilized. Vague ideas plant seeds of what-ifs. Cutscenes with art make a more significant impact. The juxtaposition of pixels not expressing anything to a sprite having a meltdown is so good. Pixelated art can also get really creepy really fast. The settings tend to be either light-colored and pretty, though most are dark and gritty with secrets hiding in the shadows. Characters have both their in-game models and anime-styled sprites. Sprites only appear in dialogue and in cutscenes, and the pixel models are, well, they're what you see the entire time. That brings us to the beginning of our journey. A girl is shown waking up in a pretty garden with trees and hedges. There's a dreamy quality to it with the light palette and white background. Cat here is the mighty protagonist and where the name of the game is derived from. Not entirely sure what the project aspect means, but feel free to take a jab if you want. As this is the introduction, it's only natural that the controls be told to the player. You'll encounter these really cute doodles for each teaching of a game mechanic. Cat will then come across a white flower sitting on the ground, and we're once again presented with another tutorial. That little flower will look so lovely in my inventory. Yoink! Up ahead, there is an undisclosed building and the very first puzzle of the game. It's pretty obvious as to how to solve it, and the tutorial tells us how to use items, so why not? That is not how this was supposed to go! Yeah, so putting the flower in the vase is apparently a very bad thing to do before a shadowy figure with glowing eyes appears. The dreamy setting has turned into a total nightmare with black and red colors, a gory floor, blood, eyeballs, and scariest of all, spider lilies. The shadow scolds Cat about doing stuff willy-nilly without another thought. The solution may seem obvious, but there is always another way. The shadow proceeds to whisper in Cat's ear about how actions will always have an impact and how she shouldn't mess with things that aren't hers. That's not foreshadowing at all. But hey, come on. It was a flower and oh my god, it was a dead bird the entire time. The shadow says they can't stop Kat from coming here, or wherever here is, but they will kill her if she does. Add that to the tally of not foreshadowing. It turns out the whole thing was a dream and Kat had actually fallen asleep at her desk. Now that it's after school hours, it's time for her to set up the ritual. The scene fades to a trio of girls using a Ouija board, and the planchette spells out die. As the girls are freaking about a potential ghost, Kat sneaks in to scare them, but they're just like, oh, it's Kat. Here we see the four girls exchange pleasantries. Kat says she joined the occult club, though she's not the type, and the girls were dicking around for whatever reason. What comes next really shows what kind of character Kat is. She ruins the mood and the ritual by turning on the light and saying the girls were under the eidometer effect. Basically, it's a psychological phenomenon where the body unconsciously moves on its own and reacts to ideas, like how it reacts to pain. Here, it's stronger when gullible people who are desperate to believe in ghost stories get together and play. Kat goes on to say that there was an experiment where the players were all blindfolded and the ghosts no longer spelled out messages. I can get why they were upset with Kat about ruining the whole thing, but they also got pretty snippy to a degree about it, so it's like, who's in the wrong here? The next mechanic introduced is the save crow. Lots of horror games have this mechanic where a certain item acts as the save point. In this case, it's just a stuffed crow. Kat can now go around the room and examine stuff for flavor text and to find out what her next objective should be. You could talk to the girls all you like here, but they're all like, ew, go away. And that hurts me a bit. Make sure you read the notes in the inventory or you cannot leave the room. At all. I was stuck here because I can't pay attention. Anyway, these notes contain the objectives we must complete in order to do the ritual. It breaks it down into a few categories, so it's pretty easy to follow along. Kat already has some of the materials needed, so now we just have to collect chalk, a rune, and some hair. From here on out, it's a free-for-all. Any of these objectives can be completed in no particular order whatsoever. As you encounter the 3 classrooms, Kat provides us with a handy drawing as to how to set the desks up. According to the ritual, they need to be lined up against the walls to not get in the way of the so-called path she'll be drawing. All of the windows need to be sealed shut with curtains, and one of them in the 3rd classroom is lacking some. There are a few ways to get into the theater club room, but I went with the old stealing method. Yeah, so there are multiple ways to get some of the items. The chalk can be found in numerous locations, and a pair of scissors can be found in a classroom to open the box with the runes inside. However, now there's the fun part. I ended up taking some hair off the ponytail girl and stealing her key to the club room. Other methods could be lockpicking with a hairpin, helping out the girl get her notebook back to borrow the key, or simply have Kat cut her own hair off. Naturally, all of these options have different dialogue and little things in the setting that can be spotted based on the choice made. After everything is collected, the girls with the Ouija board leave. I don't blame them because I've been a complete menace to them this entire time. All that's left to do is set up the candles, light them suckers, and wait. As Kat waits the 5 minutes, a flashback plays on the screen of an unnamed girl talking with Kat in the classroom. While she is unnamed in the game, it's been found in the files that her name is actually Annie, so I'll be referring to her as such. Annie tells Kat to stop screwing around, to which Kat replies that everything so far has been a scam. Annie mentions that Kat might end up summoning something bad that could condemn her soul, not foreshadowing. Kat's nonchalant ass is like, lol, if I'm damned, then that's what is waiting for me when I die. Apparently, Kat is seeking out someone in particular, and these rituals are her only hope. Either way, Kat still plans to go through with the ritual. There's a letter in the occult club with the ritual inside, but since Kat's not a member, she becomes one just to gain access. After the memory fades out, there's a weird noise outside. We could choose to investigate, and you'll spot some creepy shit if you pay attention. I said screw that. Kat then burns the hair and has to blow out the candles. However, the candles go out by themselves. She closes her eyes and begins to count out loud. There are even more noises, but Kat decides to keep going instead of noping out of there. As she opens her eyes, we see we're in an entirely new location. It's a hallway filled with nothing but a few doors and this icky, goopy, slimy stuff. I'm gonna call it goth goop. Kat's pretty stoked that the ritual worked, but the feeling quickly shifts into, well, fuck, where am I? Each of the doors we inspect are locked. Goth goop is everywhere. It probably stinks in there. The hallway loops on itself to a point where it goes on with no door in sight. Backtracking will eventually show a key on the wall that can be used for the door at the top of the staircase. Inside it leads back into the school, but it's clear that something is off. There are signs on the wall that can be read, and each is more threatening than the last. A bodiless voice begins speaking with Kat, telling her that she has to entertain them. "Oh, screw this." The voice begins to mock Kat, to which she replies with, "Shut up if you're not gonna help," like a total bad bitch. We'll come across more golden envelopes on the floor, holding similar rituals and the one that Kat performed herself. The voice tells Kat that since she knows that they work, there will be no way of telling anyone as she will die. Kat's strength against the voice begins to dim. She's a bit more hesitant, more on the defensive. More threatening notes are plastered on the walls of more creepy hallways. This stupid voice says Kat's mom will be devastated when she learns that she's all alone and that her husband and daughter are gone. It's clear that the person she was searching for the entire time was her father. Kat gets super pissed with the voice, but you could tell that its words are really getting to her. There's a particular note of her not saying goodbye that is just plain nasty. Another says there's someone else in there with her, but they can't escape because, why would you give your prey an escape? The next room shows a memory of sort of a younger Kat with whom I presume is her mother. Jesus! The voice is successfully getting to Kat. She's freaking out more and more. The light is getting dimmer. The walls are getting narrower. We get caught off in this teeny tiny room with nothing but the voice mocking Kat even more. She breaks down, clutching her head and saying that she wants to go home. Satisfied with her reaction, the voice releases her back into the hall of doors. This time it's entirely dark, and the one boarded up from before is now open. Kat is officially over this place and goes through. Once inside, we're met with a black space and a trail of blood. Following the trail, we come to see the girls from before, but now they're all dead and mutilated. It's okay, guys. It's all strawberry jam. On the other side is a door with an exit sign. At first it's locked, but something on the other side opens it. Kat mutters her final words, "I don't want to die," and the game fades to black with the sound of something. Here we have the true ending. We followed the ritual to a T, completed the objectives, ruined Kat's life. That being said, there are other endings that can be accomplished, but they're considered dead ends. Here's where the idea of there is always another way comes in. Different decisions lead to different outcomes. For example, there are endings where all of the girls survive and befriend Kat. Kat can abandon the ritual altogether. Personally, I didn't unlock any of the endings involving saving the girls. I clearly missed something because each time I checked in on them, the girls were already gone. There are plenty of walkthroughs that could be found on the internet if you're interested. Now that Kat is catent, let's dive straight into our next voyage, Paper Lily. Our story begins with the voice talking about a to-do list and how accomplishing one task will lead to more being done. We're then introduced to the main character, Lacey. Lacey is in the midst of choosing what she wants to order from a cafe. We actually get to choose what she orders, and it's only referenced in future dialogue, so no consequences. It's clear that something's off. The cashier drops a dish when Lacey comes up to the counter, and to herself she says that Lacey's vibe is unsettling. While I get that she was wary and wanted the interaction to be over with, she still acted like an asshole. Hell, everybody else in the cafe were acting like assholes. They all had this reaction of, "Ew, this girl is weird," while saying everything out loud and staring. Like, dog, come on. The comments quickly get to Lacey and she rushes out of the cafe. The scene transitions to Lacey returning home and pulling out the aforementioned to-do list with the very important addition of "Before I Die" at the top. The game provides doodles for directions like in Project Cat, and the save points are legitimate crows this time, not fake ones. Her house is rather nice, I'd say. It seems to be a quiet residential area, safe, comfortable. Of course, we can go around and examine everything for more flavor text. You'll notice right away that Lacey is designed after Alice from Alice in Wonderland. The devs actually mention this themselves, but a lot of players tend to compare her to Rachel Gardner from Angels of Death, both in personality and appearance-wise. Entering the house, it's up to us to complete the to-do list in whatever order we see fit. Sitting on the kitchen table is a note left behind from her parents explaining that they'll be gone for a couple of days. Her mother left a phone number that we can call. Doing so results in a brief conversation with the mom being like, "Yeah, leave me alone if you're fine," and hanging up. Heading up the stairs triggers a cutscene of her brother emerging from his room and intercepting Lacey. Hiro is the GOAT. He's super sweet to Lacey, doesn't seem bothered by her, incredibly supportive, just lovely all around. Also, his sweater has little cats. How could you not like him? Anyway, we head to Lacey's room where another cutscene occurs. At first, Lacey flops onto the bed and almost takes a nap, but quickly decides against it as she has a lot to prepare. A golden envelope sits on a table to the side. How she got it, we don't know, but it arrived after a day while others online said theirs took months. She then continues on to say that this isn't her first ritual, but it is her first time intentionally getting spirited away. The next set of objectives is provided within the envelope alongside items that need to be collected. Like with Kat, Lacey already has some of the items ready, like the table salt and rune. Exploring the house turns up the last items needed. All that's left to do before the ritual is to say goodbye to Hiro. Lacey's already explained the ritual to him, and there's an agreement for him not to be in the house in case something goes wrong. Despite knowing about the ritual and how it could be dangerous, Hiro still provides his support. We find him outside reading a book. He reads to Lacey the crow poem, the one with 1 for sorrow, 2 for mirth, 3 for a wedding, but it has magpies instead. Lacey can't bring herself to say goodbye to him, instead saying that she'll see him tomorrow. Oh, Lacey. Sweet, sweet Lacey. Once all the preparation for the ritual is completed, Lacey finally decides to take that nap. Whenever she sleeps, we're transported into this weird dream world where everything is black and the ideas of things are constructed of white lines. Walking around doesn't show anything, so we proceed through the only available door. Lacey has been encountering the same dream over and over again, and to escape it, she has to go through a wardrobe. Because that's not a reference to anything. The dreamscape leads her through a school corridor with students watching and laughing to an area of lockers. Naturally, Lacey's locker is the one with graffiti, and she usually has to open it before she can go through the wardrobe. A bunch of trash is stuffed inside her locker. How delightful! She crawls through the wardrobe back to the waking world. As part of the ritual, Lacey had to wake up at midnight. The next step is to make a call on the landline, so we head down to the kitchen. If you take the time and look around, the house is now full of creepy shit, but I just flew on by without paying attention. The phone's buttons have been changed to weird symbols, so the player had to memorize the original placements earlier so the correct number can be dialed. After providing the password, a timer appears on screen to hurry to the bus waiting at the front gate. No one else is on the bus as Lacey climbs aboard. You've probably noticed that she talks to herself a lot, and for good reason. Here she has a bit of a monologue, saying things like, life will be better for her family if she dies, and if she dies or comes back as a different person, everyone wins. She again brings up the online forum. One poster in particular is a big deal and has lots of experience, I guess, since Lacey brings up how their words carry weight. That poster said she had to get off the bus before the end of the line, no exceptions. Lacey falls back asleep, and we're back in the dreamscape. The same path is followed, but when we get to her locker, a shiny red item comes out with the trash. We grab the item, head through the wardrobe, awaken to find monsters on all sides. Great! Another timer counts down as we beat feet to get off the bus because, screw that! A rather suspicious guy in a red hoodie goes, she actually got off. Wee woo, stranger danger, stay back. The bus has dropped us off by this mysterious large forest. Walking along the clearing loops, so we have no choice but to head inside. The forest is surprisingly peaceful with its heavy blue hues and gentle music, which is just fine by me because this is where we'll be for the time being. We make our way to Daylight Gate by rotating the signs along the paths and causing the trees to move. Now there are different ways to get past the gate. Remember, there is always another way. Though, for this video, I'm sticking with a clear path and I'll discuss some other choices later. A smart person would take the time to recognize the pattern to these lampposts, but I just kept spamming them on and off until it worked. On the other side of the gate, we're met with a fairy ring and a sign to not step in it, a small shop, and an unlit fire. Further ahead is a ginormous tree surrounded by mushrooms and an opening sealed by glass. A sign in front gives directions for the new locations to check out, as this tree acts as the hub for this section. It's another free-for-all to do as we please, but it'll all be covered at some point. I decided to head west to the sculptor's place. It's a small cubic building with hunks of material along the path and flowers lining its walls. Inside waits an exhibit with strange and broken sculptures. Going to the very bottom level, we run into a demon with a kettle head. Speaking with him gets us absolutely nothing. Okay, next spot. Heading northwest takes us to Red's place, which is a house on the docks. Another demon standing outside calls out to Lacey. This is Rune, and like Hero, Rune is a very good boy. Because shit can never be easy, simply walking along the docks isn't going to cut it. There are several spike traps that we have to get through in a minigame, which I totally bodied. Speaking with Rune reveals a number of things. If you bring him runes, he'll trade them for treasures. Some demons have the appearance of a human, but it's easy to tell the difference with a real one. And, most importantly, Lacey is cursed, hence all the bad juju. Red is the person who can help break the curse. We're outside their house, so what are we waiting for? Lacey goes inside and, of course, Red isn't there. Back outside, she asks Rune why he didn't say Red wasn't there, to which he says she never asked. Which, fair. Rune further explains that Red spends a lot of time at the lighthouse to the north, and this sets up the next big objective for us to complete. To head north, we need to go through the locked area, but it is very dangerous, and we need a light. Heading back to the big tree triggers another cutscene. Lacey talks to herself more and thinks of Hero. Somehow her cell phone has a connection to the outside world, and she manages to call him. Hero, being the absolute darling he is immediately concerned for her safety. He's much like a mother hen, but Lacey seems to not have any problems with it. He's very in tune with her emotions and how she must feel about this whole curse ordeal, for he tries, and succeeds, to make her laugh. From what little dynamic we've seen of these two so far, I really like the relationship. It's so cute and wholesome. As we explore the woods, we can find different notes with hints about where to find the keys. After finding all three, we return to the locked area. There's this funny note on the fence that says if you're stupid enough to go inside, please close the gate behind you. That one did get a good ha-ha out of me. The locked area is entirely pitch black save for the small ring of light around Lacey. Another note says that the writer left a trail of petals to mark the way to the exit for his partner. Something lurks within the woods. We get our first true taste of horror mechanics with the hiding aspect. Whatever the big scary thing is, I wasn't keen on finding out. Whenever it draws closer, the sound of a heartbeat gets louder and faster. I hid in each bush I came across. I'm not playing around here. I'm following this trail that may or may not cross puddles of blood to get to the... God damn it. Not gonna lie, a bitch was panicking. It was me. On the other side of the locked area is the lake. There are these cute bunnies running around and something not so cute dwelling in the water. If you walk up to a bunny, it implodes into a puddle of strawberry jam. We find another save crow by the boat, and there's another sign that says, "The monster loves meat, hates water," which I thought was odd considering the monster is in the water?
Nope.
We'll need the boat to reach our next destination, but our new friend here keeps calling dibs. We'll need to deal with the squatter and find some ores before we can continue. I went with the hates water route and fixed the pipe in the little alcove by the shrine. Do not, and I repeat, do not take the fish from the water. We splash the monster with water, grab the paddles, hop into the boat, and away we go. The woods contains more woods, though this time it comes with rain and flowers. There's a small tower-type structure with a door. Examining it, we find that the door can fit 6 doorknobs and 2 are already inside it. Lacey has one on her person from before the ritual, so that already makes 3 that we can come across. The purple knob leads to a shop with a shadow girl running the counter. The silhouette is very familiar. The devs refer to her as Little Cat. Isn't that nice? Shadow here gets very excited upon seeing Lacey and gives her a rainbow potion. I was skeptical about it at first, but it's actually beneficial since it increases endurance, which translates as another heart for Lacey. On the other hand, the yellow doorknob leads to a tent with moth people, and they're so cute! Though they're complaining about their baby brother, the caterpillar, crying non-stop and wants Lacey to deal with them. In turn, they'll gift us a doorknob if we kill him. I took him back to the first area and released the poor little fella. I mean, look at those eyes. Returning to the moths indeed scores us the next doorknob. Placing it in the door and opening it has an entirely new cutscene. This new path leads directly down a stupidly dark staircase. As she descends, Lacey's head begins to hurt and she ends up falling down the stairs and falling unconscious. The dreamscape welcomes us once more. There's a new door this time though, and it leads into the kitchen from Lacey's house. Her mother stands at the counter and she asks for us to find a knife in the garage. The garage is filled with wardrobes. Lacey's vision goes and she collapses again, but she wakes up back in the kitchen with a knife. When given to the mom, she cuts whatever she has and it's red. We receive the second red thing, so that's nice. A single wardrobe is now in the garage, so Lacey crawls back through and fully awakens to find herself in a prison cell. The room itself is locked, but have no fear as there's a conveniently placed box we can use to reach a vent and climb through. We're officially now in the next large segment of the game, which takes place inside this ominous facility. Lacey hears something coming her way and, as her only weapon, she promptly throws salt at them. It turns out it's the guy with the red hoodie from the bus. He introduces himself as Psy. As much of the Joker type he is, he's also incredibly suspicious. Lacey shares that thought and frankly wants nothing to do with him, but they're forced to partner up because some scary demon makes loud noise off screen. Well, not really partner up, since Psy just chooses to follow Lacey for the time being. They hide away in a nasty operating room covered in blood, and it's just so cozy. When Lacey finally speaks to him, Psy reveals that the thing we heard was a primal demon, which is like a super scion demon because it's shadowy. Psy continues to be suspicious. He seems to know this facility and more details about demons than what would be considered normal in this case. We can now fully explore the facility and uncover its secrets. The center room brings us Rune again, my guy! He's about to say Lacey's name when she tells him to shut up because she doesn't want Psy to know it because he might write her name down in a notebook and cause her death. Anyway, Rune drops some important info. The facility is odd since some doorknobs act as a one-way ticket and there's basically no way out. Our only option is to go down, but the stairs are completely submerged underwater. Chances are there's another cursed door somewhere, and we have to find it. It's here we learn that Lacey received her doorknob in the mail with instructions on how to return home. It involves folding the ritual letter into an origami lily and putting it into a vase, and it's imperative that she learned it lest she regret it. Here we have Paper Lily. Exploring the facility, we come across elevators that need the power turned back on, and this will be the main objective for this area. There's another cutscene when we come across a restroom and Lacey fakes having to go, but instead calls Hero. Again, he's simply wonderful. Lacey shares that this guy she met is shady and doesn't react to her curse whatsoever, and obviously that's a big deal. There's another cutscene when we find the room for the fuse box and water controls. This time, Lacey accidentally drops her to-do list and Psy reads it. Oof. What's more, we can now run into a primal demon that guards this one elevator, and we learn the sneak mechanic. Talking with Rune again, we learn that Psy has done a lot of rituals, hence his knowledge of demons and about the facility. I didn't find all the handles for the water control, so I'm not really sure what happens there, but I did gather all the fuses for a puzzle to get the elevator working again. Different fuses can unlock different doors and the like, so keep that in mind if you want to encounter other tidbits for dead endings. Anyway, since the elevators take up all the power, the lights in the facility go out. We're left to creep through the darkness to reach said elevator. Well, shit. When we finally get inside an elevator that doesn't have scary shadow men ripping us open, we can choose what floor to go to. Don't ask me about B4 because I never got there, but B3 is fun. There's a strange house that may or may not contain the exit we're searching for. Heading inside, we're met with a rather cozy atmosphere, but that's quickly shattered by the creepy paintings on the walls. Sai leads Lacey into a living room of sorts. Lacey even comments on how cozy the place is, like it was decorated with care. The two decide to take a break and light the fireplace. As they're chatting, Lacey tells him how she's cursed and has been that way since she was little. This ritual is her last hope to fix things, especially since everyone around her steers clear. Animals don't like her. Her parents don't like her. Hiro has been the only one to stand by her side this entire time. Turns out that Sai can sense her aura, but it doesn't bother him, which is nice, I guess. A hooded person comes in suddenly and is understandably confused as to why there are strangers in our house. However, that's quickly disregarded when she notices the fire and proceeds to freak out. I thought this was odd, like the lake monster from earlier. If you don't like fire, then why have a fireplace? Anyway, she traps them both in cages, and once again, Lacey falls asleep. The dreamscape now has a third door. This one leads into a classroom where a bunch of supposed classmates gang up on her about a dead bird. They claim she's a freak for other reasons, but mostly because the bird flew into the window directly next to her seat. What's more, this tasty little morsel sits on a plate paired with a fork and knife. To make up for this atrocity, she has to eat the bird. Yeah, screw that. Well, fine, maybe I can stick it to these little shits instead. You good? Going through the wardrobe also means forcibly pushing herself out through the cage. We can also see that the two are held up in a dungeon that the strange lady casually has. Sai is chilling in his own cage and pleads with Lacey to get him out, and yes, we can choose whether or not to free him. As Lacey leaves, he asks her what she bought from before, meaning the snack from the beginning, and he finally gets her name. The creepy house is now ours to explore. We'll quickly come into contact with a spider demon dubbed Spider, and it agrees to help us escape. We have to gather some strange objects and unseal them to get away from Miss Knives' wrath. Miss Knives is our deer captor and she busts Spider's ass, but we get away in time. As we explore the house, the different rooms hold hints and objects used to solve puzzles and provide snippets about Miss Knives herself. For example, I want this lady's golden eye. Yoink! Oh shit, go 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 go! Sai is back! Inside the library is another room that holds a pool in its center and a painting of hands on the wall. Spider makes its reappearance, although this time it is significantly smaller. We learn that the house is an illusion of sorts, since Miss Knives only sees what she wants to see. It's up to us to break the illusion, unseal the items because they hold Miss Knives' memories, and return back to Spider. The items in question can be collected in whatever order, and each have different requirements as to how to unseal them. With each unsealed item, placing it in the hands of the painting provides a detailed story of the past and Miss Knives' blessings. Once upon a time, Miss Knives was a blind girl and had a friend named Iris who happened to be very sweet. Randomly one morning, Miss Knives woke up with the ability to see. Iris gave her a sketchbook and some art supplies because Miss Knives always wanted to draw. However, weird drawings that she didn't make start to appear in the book. During this time, her mother was deathly ill, getting to a point where salvation was totally out of the question. That is, until her mother miraculously recovered. The townspeople did not like her recovering. They disliked it so much that they claimed she was a witch and made her into a barbecue skewer. Later on, some boys were bullying Miss Knives, calling her a freak and stealing her goods. When they looked inside the sketchbook, they saw the creepy drawings. Convinced that she's a witch like her mother, they threatened to tell the townspeople and break her art supplies and sketchbook. Let's just say that led to the one boy's leg becoming a Twizzler and Iris not being allowed to see her anymore. With the so-called blessings thus far, it's been deemed that Miss Knives and her father are witches. The father desperately tried to out himself of the situation, but was killed on the spot. Miss Knives was thrown into jail and set for execution the following day. Iris came to visit her, but with a rather odd parting gift. Since Iris didn't want to see her friend burn at the stake, she wanted her to end things herself with a knife. Turns out that Iris told her father about the miracles in hopes of him protecting Miss Knives, but that obviously backfired. It's just some real wholesome stuff. Now that all of the objects have been unsealed, Spider says that they have to be burned in the correct order. Miss Knives doesn't like this. The house is dark, objects are breaking, and things are generally gross now. Heading to a now unlocked door reveals a room of portraits of the same girl. In the back, there are more pictures of the objects that we've collected, and solving the puzzle gets us a lighter needed to burn the objects in the fireplace. As Lacey and Cy watch the objects burn, Miss Knives reappears and attacks us with knives in another mini-game similar to the spike traps back in the forest. Miss Knives absolutely loses her shit and busts out the boss fight. Once that's over, we're then in a void with carpets that act as paths to candles that must be put out. Ghosts chase after us as we do this, and they're not slow whatsoever. Putting out the candles leads to Boss Fight Part 2 by the fireplace, though this one is a remix with knives and fire.
The Fitness Gram Pacer test is a multi-stage aerobic capacity test that progressively gets more difficult as it continues.
Defeating Miss Knives brings another cutscene. A young girl is on the floor, crying, and Lacey picks up a piece of paper, which tells the sixth blessing. We're subjected to an inner monologue from Miss Knives as she's put on the stake. A picture of a lily is displayed, and it gradually loses its petals as Miss Knives speaks. She talks about losing peace as they light her shit on fire. Apparently, she once heard the phrase, 6 blessings from a curse, from a dream. The fire stops, but it instead spreads to the town and everyone else. She uses the knife from Iris to free herself. Because everything went to shit after gaining her eyesight, she yells to whomever that she doesn't want it and proceeds to gouge her eyes out. With the knife. Yummy! The scene fades back to the crying girl on the floor. She turns back into Miss Knives and stands up to put the fire out. The illusion is officially broken and we're transported back to the facility. As we go to leave, Spider calls us over to its cell and, "Holy shit, that's a big spider!" At Spider's words, we have to go to the other cell to find Miss Knives, but it's only her hood and she's clearly crying. Spider says she'll be fine, that she just needs to build herself a new web again because she gets a visitor every so often. This visitor is our mysterious Red that we're on the hunt for. Spider gives us some door fragments and off we go to the cursed door. Since backtracking into the facility brings death, I put the return knob into the door. The new path leads to a garden with a single door in the middle, much like the setting used at the start of Project Cat. Cy brings up Lacey's to-do list and suggests she change it from things to do before you die to once you get fixed. Lacey removes the lily from the vase, puts the origami in instead, and then tells Cy that she'll see him on the other side before walking through. Cy, this little shit, closes the door and removes the lily before taking off. We have reached the true ending, and it's fucking insane. Jesus, I don't even know where to begin. These games are crazy, and the choices presented alongside the consequences blows my mind. While I clearly didn't discover each and every little thing, I'd like to compile the things I did discover, but I'd still highly recommend checking the game out for yourself to find other secrets. Firstly, choosing to remove the flowers from the vases at the beginning of Project Cat has a totally different cutscene. The shadow isn't threatening and the atmosphere doesn't turn scary. The shadow is actually surprised at the whole unexpected turn of events. At the end, when Cat says she doesn't want to die, a voice tells her that everybody should die at least once, but it's almost gentle. Paper Lily, oh, the game that you are. Doing the ritual incorrectly leads to a whole different nightmare. Lacey has to undergo this highly specific routine to undo the ritual so she doesn't get totally screwed, but that doesn't do anything. Not getting off the bus brings us to the end of the line, where we end up in what I presume is the same facility as before. However, Lacey encounters some demons that knock her out and join up with their boss to operate on her. Back in the woods, you can encounter a train station and obtain a pair of scissors. Getting the scissors is considered a no-no, and a whole different path needs to be taken by following the correct hints so you don't meet your doom. The scissors can be used for a variety of things, like cutting the wires to that lamp puzzle outside Daylight Gate. Walking through the fairy ring twice gets Lacey chomped into a plant and sucked underground into this icky, gory place that's an intestine. I met Owie here, a whole-ass character that can play a larger role. Together, Lacey and Owie make their way through this nasty place, past the nasty egg fairies, only for Lacey to meet a dead end. There's a super convoluted way as to save her, but that involves getting some other characters and locating all the coins that could be found throughout the woods. The locked area can be avoided completely by finding runes and gifting them to Rune in return for a bug net and bolt cutters. There's an underground passage under Red's place, but a code's needed to get through the door, and I had to help the mysterious prisoner in the basement to attain it. This involves a lot of backtracking and obtaining items that could be easily missed. Not getting killed by Ket, he's a sculptor with the kettle head, and creating a chemical solvent. That very solvent can be used on the candle sculpture in Ket's exhibit, and it turns out that's a guy all on its own. There's so much shit that loops together, it is easy to miss unless you look for it. I'm talking entire segments and characters. It's wickedly impressive, I'll tell you that much. And the symbolism? Gagged. The references to stuff? Delicious. Crows can be seen as a bad omen or a guide of sorts, depending on the culture and the folklore. The bad side can mean sorrow, grief, bad luck. The good side can involve the crow being a direct message from the spirit world, an urge to pay attention to your surroundings, a sign of major life changes, or as a sign to follow your intuition. Lilies, on the other hand, are associated with purity, virtue, and renewal. There is always another way. There are also some other videos on my channel if you want to check them out until my next drop. If you like this video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Let me be your spirit crow, come on! Stick around for the vibes. That being said, thanks for watching. Until next time, this is Icky Mickey. Goodbye.